Hello! It's been a while, and I have been traveling a lot, kind of trying to make up for lost time after, COVID-19 collectively drove us all off a cliff together in 2020. Please get your vaccine if you haven't already so that you can join me out on the road. But because all of that has been happening, I thought maybe I owed you all a little life update, and I thought I'd do a Q&A because I now officially have 2,007 followers on Instagram, so thank you for that. And so let's just get into both, shall we? If you stick around for the end, then I will put in a little bonus question for you as well. So let's see, what is first? Looks like Books on Thursday has asked, what is my favorite restaurant in Chicago? That is a really, really hard choice, but I would have to say, at least during the summer months like this, Raised, which is a rooftop bar in the Loop, has to be one of my favorite restaurants. It's not necessarily for the food, although the food is fine. It's just the view. The view from the Raised rooftop bar is just, I think, the best in the city. And it just keeps getting better and better, of course, because of all of the new buildings that keep coming up. It's a very exciting time to be dining in downtown Chicago, I think. So, Raised rooftop bar. Next up, we have, I hope I'm saying this correctly, if not, I'm sorry, Sierra Dawson, who wants to know what my favorite hobbies are because she needs some ideas besides just traveling. Well, obviously, I have been traveling a lot, so I love to travel. That's probably pretty apparent at this point, especially if you are at all invested in my husband's channel, which you can see up here. But I don't just love to travel. You can see behind me, this is my studio, and I've been setting it up for the last few months with the intention of creating things in here for your viewing pleasure. And one of the things that I am hard at work on right now, which will be a video at some point in the future, is the infamous Hamilton Spencer. And it is basically right behind me. So I really like to design clothing, I like to sew, and I love to sew historic clothing, generally speaking by hand, unless I get bored, and then I sometimes do get out my machine and do some machine work, but nevertheless, sewing and specifically costume design is literally what I went to school for, and I really, really enjoy it. Next up is Dakota Kelt 1 with what is my favorite kind of music to listen to. I have, shall we say, eclectic tastes. I have always loved classic rock since before I could walk. Basically, I was listening to the Beatles and Aerosmith, but I also love bluegrass because of my grandfather and just having a lot of family in West Virginia and going back and forth there all the time. I love classical music for studying. I love pop when I'm in a mood. I really love pop when I'm driving. And I have to say right now, I have been obsessed with Dua Lipa and Harry Styles. I do not know why. I am 36 years old. It doesn't make any sense to me. My absolute all-time favorite has to be the Monkees. Completely underrated in my opinion. And I'm really excited because I'm actually going to see Mickey Dolenz and Mike Nesmith in concert later this year. So go get your vaccine so that I can do that. P.S. Cowfan asks, do I have any phobias? I am a little bit afraid of the dark. And no, not just the TV show from the 90s, which I did watch in the 90s as a kid. I am not the biggest fan of the dark, but it's really odd with me because I don't like being in the dark unless I'm trying to sleep, and then it has to be completely pitch black dark or I cannot sleep. Like the blackout curtains, something I invested in like in my early 20s. ES Cowfan also asks, favorite ice cream flavor? Probably mint chocolate chip, although if you do ever catch me at Dairy Queen, I am probably the only person on earth who still remembers chocolate covered cherry blizzards, and whenever I can get something with chocolate and cherry in the same tub, that is generally what I will eat. That said, I am still coming up with ideas for ice cream flavors and videos to do to bring us out of the summer. So if you have any good ideas about ice cream flavors that you want me to try, even if they're really bizarre, and I've seen some really bizarre entries so far, then put them down in the comments below. I would love to hear what you have to say. History Nerd 1775, which that is a fantastic name, by the way, asks what my favorite era of history is. Well, I'm a weird historian in that I am more interested in the history of a specific thing or a specific way of doing things rather than a specific era. There are a couple of eras that I attach to. The 1960s is like a huge one for me. I am obsessed with learning anything about the 1960s, and I have been since I was a little kid. But I also am equally interested in, for example, Regency era ladies' dress. I am equally interested in frontier women and how they cooked and how they cleaned. I'm just really interested in the female experience of history and studying that specifically. So more than an era, it's a way of doing things and how things have changed over time is what I'm most interested in. All right, moving on to Twitter. Jane Smith asks, are you a fan of the Darling Buds of May specifically, or cottagecore in general? I don't know what the Darling Buds of May is, so I'm gonna have to look that up.
I'm assuming it might be a YouTube channel.
Editing Tara here. I did watch the Darling Buds of May. It's obviously not a YouTube channel, and I feel very ignorant for not knowing about it before, but it's fantastic. And I had no idea that it was Catherine Zeta-Jones's kind of breakout role. So thank you very much for letting me know about that. And I would highly recommend it to anyone who was just as ignorant as I was on the subject, because it is very cottagecore-y. It's true. It's got that vibe, and it's kind of silly, it's smutty at times, and it's just old British humor. So I am going to give you the definition of cottagecore as the first sentence of the Wikipedia article entitled Cottagecore says. Cottagecore is a fashion aesthetic promulgated by teenagers and young adults celebrating an idealized rural life. This sort of thing was happening in Europe around about the time of the Industrial Revolution, and one of the biggest members, I guess, of the cottagecore scene back in the late 1700s was actually none other than Marie Antoinette, who literally had an entire village built so that she could pretend to live in a cottage and milk cows and, play house essentially as a milkmaid. So this is not a new concept at all, and I do love it because I feel like it really matches my aesthetic, but we have to remember that history is not the same thing as fiction, and cottagecore is most certainly fiction. Linda Abbott asks, do you or your husband have any opinions on the royal family? Just curious. Hey, Lawrence!
What?
Could you come over here for a sec?
What is it?
One of my followers wants to know if you have an opinion on the royal family.
On the royals? Oh, I don't have any strong opinions on the royals, but I do have an opinion on one royal in particular. That is Queen Elizabeth II, right? And I'm just full of admiration for what she's achieved and for how long her reign has endured. During that reign, she's met with almost a third of all US presidents in history.
So what you're saying is you're jealous of her?
Jealous? Yeah, because I want a gold chair.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.
So there you have it. Lawrence is apparently a royalist, only in that he's a little bit green with envy. And I couldn't care less. They're people, they live lives. Moving on. In actuality, my opinion of the royals is a little more nuanced than that, but maybe that deserves its own video at some point. I don't know. There's a lot to study about the history of each royal family, and it is pretty impressive that Queen Elizabeth II and, of course, her predecessors have gotten as far as they have. But at the same time, I mean, it's all just constitutional monarchy. I don't know. They're symbolic. Some people love them. Some people hate them. I'm an American, so I don't answer either way. Janice D asks, did I hear one time on Lost in the Pond that you were a teacher? What subject do you teach? My great aunt was an American history teacher years ago. I was a teacher. I am not a teacher any longer. I let my teaching license expire a few years ago. But when I was teaching, I was a performing arts and English teacher. And for a little while in Indianapolis, I was the head of a department, and I did that for close to 7 years. Mandy Story asks, if you win the lottery, what would be your first purchase? I think it would actually be an old house. Probably one that I can renovate and maybe restore to its original charm, if not its original everything. And if I were to pick which era of house, probably either a late Victorian or a Queen Anne style would be the one that I would choose, just because the big rooms and the breeziness, I just love it. And they almost make me squeal with delight. Now, before we get to the last question, a quick little update on life and on the channel and all kinds of fun stuff. So I mentioned earlier that this is now my studio, and I am hoping to make lots and lots of things in here for you. I certainly also have my kitchen somewhere in the house, and that kitchen is going to be used for the same purpose, because the food videos and in fact the long form videos like this one are not going away. They just had to be put on hold for a little while so that Lawrence and I could travel. So far we have been up and down the state of Illinois with our Route 66 video, which you can watch up here. We have also been to Pennsylvania, and that video is coming soon. I have some videos of my own along those lines and other ones that still need to be put out to you but have already been filmed. And I'm going to hopefully be taking us into the fall with a lot of other really exciting makes, whether they be food or craft or otherwise. So please be staying tuned for those things. So bear with me. Hopefully I can tie down a better schedule soon. Every few months you guys are always asking where I went. I swear I'm still here. Everything's still good. I'm just really busy. The other thing that I wanted to tell you is that I have been going to the doctor again, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but when you have 3 congenital heart defects, that's me. For those of you who are unaware or have not been around very long, I was born with a terribly functioning heart. It almost killed me once, and I could not go to the doctor for over a year, even though I had just had heart surgery because of COVID. So it's good to be back with doctors and getting things done, and things are looking pretty good right now. I have a lot of confidence in myself and in my body to, be able to make more things in the future, which was not always something that I thought would be possible. We're gonna be doing some more traveling, but hopefully not as much as we did this summer in the next few months, which should free me up a lot more time to do things again, like make videos and other content. So stick around. Of course, I still, in all of this time, have been pretty frequently updating my core group of Crafty Club members. If you would like to join the Crafty Club, which helps me to do things like make these videos, then you can do so at patreon.com/oldfashioned_AF. And I will see you over there as well, usually on more or less a weekly basis. So I hope you'll join me. Finally, if you've made it this far into the video, then you will know that I have a bonus question for you. And it is from Salty Foodie, who asks, what is one thing that always makes you smile? And I think, without a doubt, the thing that makes me smile the most is when I see my cat walk into the room. He is mischievous and he gets in the way of things. He helps with things constantly, and it just cheers me up no end knowing that he is always just around the corner, or probably standing right outside the door right now waiting for Mummy to open it. And you can check him out too, by the way, on YouTube if you want. His YouTube channel is called The Whisker Reel, and he's adorable. So now that I have updated you on what's going on with my life, with the channel, all of that good stuff, and we have celebrated 2,000 followers on Instagram, so thank you very much for that again. I will see you again very soon for another video, I promise. And ta-ta for now. Well, look who's outside the door waiting for me.